Bitcoin is pumping back up. It's on a little bit of a move to the upside. The question, however, after plummeting down to $78,000 last night, was that the bottom of the move? Of course, one of the reasons why some people are believing that to be the case is BlackRock has bought Bitcoin. And no, I'm not talking about buying Bitcoin for the sake of ETF holders. We know that they have to buy and sell Bitcoin whenever the ETF holders buy and sell. But this is actually BlackRock using their own money to buy Bitcoin. Is that the bottom, or is this simply a bull trap that you need to watch out for? We're going to discuss that and so much more in today's episode. So make sure to go ahead and strap on in till the very end. Smash that like button, hit subscribe. But first, we got to roll the intro. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again into the Investing Bros live show. We've got another great one lined up for you today. But first, got to introduce these two good-looking co-hosts right here. I got Smay down right, got Tshroom in the bottom left. Smay, how are we feeling today?
Well, I'm feeling fantastic, guys. I just want to say, first and foremost,
Gosh. All right. Tshroom, how about you, my friend? How are you doing today?
Well, it's going to be hard to follow that, Tim. I am very
Yeah.
excited. I have my beloved father-in-law and mother-in-law coming to stay with us here in North Georgia. The weather is playing along perfectly. We've got some outside activities planned. It is just gorgeous up here. So I'm excited to do all of that this weekend. We're going to have some fun. And I'm better than I deserve, Tim. I really am.
Good. I mean, that was really what people were looking for. They wanted to know if that was still the case or not. But we're going to have a lot to talk about today. We're talking price action. As Tshroom phrased it in our planning meeting, we're talking a little potential 4D chess in the markets. What is the composite man up to right now? Make sure to watch all the way through there. But before we get into details on the charts and what's going on over there, I want to throw it to Tshroom for our minute roundup of the news. Everything you need to know, big happening right now in the world of crypto. Tshroom, go ahead and take it away.
All right, everything big. I was going to start with some of yesterday's news that we haven't been able to cover because it came out after we were live. The SEC says meme coins are generally not securities under federal law. Let me know, what meme coin are you buying if you're still interested in the asset class? SEC drops the Coinbase lawsuit, a big benefit there for Brian Armstrong's Coinbase. Publicly listed miner BitDeer buys Bitcoin to the tune of $4 million. It'd be nice to afford that. Taking a look at the inflation numbers, we will do that a little later. And Uniswap partners with Robinhood, MoonPay, and Transact to facilitate crypto to fiat transactions. Uniswap getting some nice time in the media limelight there. So is Patrick McHenry. This one's really impressive to me. Former chairman of the House Financial Services Committee joins Ondo Finance as a vice chairman of the advisory board. That's right, a formerly elected official of the United States House of Representatives. Did not run for re-election. He is now going to go work for Ondo in the capacity of vice chairman. Impressive for Ondo and for McHenry. That's great for them. Match made in heaven. Wyoming Senator Cynthia Loomis says we will likely see a state-level strategic Bitcoin reserve before we see a federal one. She said, we don't have enough people comfortable enough in the House and Senate to do this yet. Raising some eyebrows, raising some questions, but a big bullish headline has ricocheted across the crypto news, and it is this. BlackRock is adding a 1 to 2% allocation of its $48 billion IBIT Bitcoin ETF in select target allocation portfolios per Bloomberg. A spokesman said, we believe Bitcoin has a long-term investment merit and can potentially provide unique and additive sources for diversification to portfolios. That's finance politics speak for we're bullish on this and we're going to go ahead and start allocating. The Bloomberg headline that was run was BlackRock adds its Bitcoin ETF to model portfolio for the first time. This is a new incremental moment for BlackRock, really putting even more on the line. Let's get into those inflation numbers here. Modest improvement in the year-over-year inflation print may bring temporary relief. Those numbers were for core PCE month over month. The actual print was 0.3, expected 0.3, previous 0.2. So an increase, but it met economist expectations. And then year over year for January, the actual print was 2.6, expected 2.6, previous 2.9. So improvement there on the year over year, which is generally taken more seriously, a little more weight given to the year over year. But it was not really an improvement necessarily, or I'm sorry, it was an improvement and met economists' expectations. So you could call it a nothing burger. You also can zoom out and say that this is not going to move the needle either way, because the Fed is much more concerned with unemployment, as they have, for the most part, gotten runaway inflation under control. Tim, I hear you chiming in there. You have some thoughts there?
Yeah, I think the importance here is that, again, with that dual mandate they have, they have to keep inflation low. They want to keep inflation low, and they want to keep unemployment low. Well, what have we seen this week? We've seen unemployment numbers talk about a rise in unemployment. That's not good. And so it's almost one of those things. If you had seen an increase in inflation in CPI numbers, then you have a balancing act that means nothing. But with unemployment going up, but inflation staying low and beating expectations, that's a very good piece of news, because that would inch the Fed one step closer to moving into QE and cutting rates once again. When they cut rates, it's going to allow inflation to run up a little bit, but it's also going to diminish unemployment levels. We're watching them get a little bit of wiggle room that they could arguably make that call. Maybe not in March. I think March might be a little too soon, but maybe we hear in the March meeting that they'll be considering it in the next one. By the way, if you think you have to wait until they cut rates for the markets to get bullish, that's not how this works. Buy the rumor, sell the news. If we start to feel rumblings that the Fed is ready to cut rates in future meetings, the markets will go to the upside, and in anticipation, they're not going to wait for the actual detail to come out from an FOMC day. So little tidbit there that I think is very important. But was there anything else on that, or is that the end of the minute-long rundown?
Absolutely. We have one more headline here. It's hard to ignore. It's the top trending thing in the news and on Twitter. And that is Zelensky has been kicked out of the White House. At least that's how it's being reported. There may be clarifications later on, but Fox News has the headline: Trump-Zelensky news conference canceled after heated Oval Office meeting. So there he is, leaving the Oval Office. Tim and I and our team, we actually listened to a little bit of the meeting. We're not going to talk about this much on the show. But it's just extremely big headline. My take is that it does have obviously has geopolitical implications, and this could potentially pair into Bitcoin at some point. But Tim, what was your main takeaway from watching some of the clips of the exchange between not only Vice President J.D. Vance, but also President Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky?
Yeah, not going to discuss it a whole heck of a lot, because I don't think this is going to have major implications on the crypto markets. It was very interesting to watch, and everyone should know since then, both Trump and Zelensky have released public statements. The biggest thing, Trump saying that Zelensky was ungrateful, he was being disrespectful to the American people. Well, Zelensky did tweet out about 40 minutes ago, "Thank you to the American people." Now, what is a tweet worth, really? We're going to see how this unfolds. Ultimately, this is the last thing I'm going to say on it, and we're going to move on and get into crypto talk. No matter whose side you're on in terms of Donald Trump, if you're a Trump fan, or Zelensky because you're a Zelensky fan, I hope all of us are team peace. Team, let's stop seeing millions of people die. Let's stop inching closer to World War III. Let's find some sort of a solution for everybody so that we can move forward in peace. Hopefully, that's a sentiment that you guys would agree with. But let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. I know a lot of you guys come in and some of you guys don't even listen to me and Tshroom and Smay talk. Some of you guys just like to read the entertaining comments. So if you're going to comment on the issue, I urge, no matter which side you're on, have Discord, disagree with each other, keep it respectful, do not attack each other. Mods, if you see anything unruly in chat, we can do some long-term timeouts. I don't really want to ban people unless it's crazy, but if you see people being disrespectful, time them out for an hour. They can come back tomorrow, or not tomorrow, they can come back Monday and try again. That being said, I put a poll out there. What did it finish with? bottom in, only 248 votes. Crux, we might want to put that poll back up there because I want to see more votes than that. 54% of you so far, though, are saying yes, the bottom is in. 45% of you saying no, the bottom's not in. So we're getting very close to 50-50. Crux, if you can reload that, we now have 677 people watching. I'm sure we're going to get up over 1,000 concurrent here today on YouTube. Shout out to all of our ex-watchers as well. But I want to get a good feeling of where our audience is sitting at the moment. Real quickly, let's read our super chats from, it's our daily super chats now from Davy Cakes. $2 saying, sorry for missing the start. Daily 75K to 240K Q4. So Davy, that means you are team the bottom is not in. I would take it if you still think we're going to 75K. He also gave another one saying, UNM biased by Fed job. I don't know what UNM stands for, but why they want to cut them. Okay, I'm butchering this, Davy Cakes. I think you're saying that you don't think they're going to cut them. We'll talk more about that later. Let's start off with something I think is very important as we share my screen here, Smay. Fear and Greed Index ticked up last night to 16, but still sitting in squarely extreme fear. We told you yesterday that whether the bottom was in or not, getting down into these extreme levels, we were at 10 yesterday, we're still at 16 here today, does imply we should get a bounce back up. That is what we're kind of watching even unfold. And we're not going to look at the Bitcoin charts. We're watching that unfold, and we'll talk about the catalyst as to why that is. But whether the bottom is in or not, these are still positive signs. I think that something is going to be very important to watch tonight at 7 p.m., and I'll tweet this out. I might be at a dinner, so I might be a little late, but I'm going to tweet out what the Fear and Greed Index end up coming in tonight. As we're pumping, let me show the chart here real quickly. We're back up above 84,000. We're making pushes back towards 85. You can see a very nice doji candle, but this is a very bullish doji candle. In fact, you actually could even go ahead and start to call this a shooting star. Very bullish candle on the daily chart. It's giving us signs that, hey, there's some positivity coming back. I think a lot of that having to do with that BlackRock news we're going to discuss in just a couple of minutes. But it's going to be very important to see as we watch the next couple of days, as we get back up. Let me go back here. As we get back up over 85, and we start to make a push back towards 90,000. I'm going to show you something on the charts that suggests we could go a little higher than 90K in a technical analysis breakout. Where does this number go? Does it stay in the fear? I think as long as we remain in the fear, you don't necessarily have a lot to worry about. But if we see confidence come back in and we shoot up, let's say into neutral, but definitely if we shoot back into greed after being at extremely low levels, that would not be a great sign. I would take that. If we move into neutral or into greed, I would take that as more than likely another move is coming down. To the downside. But that being said, let's get into the details here and talk about what is happening. If you guys have been watching the show for a while now, this whole week after the losing 90K, we told you that more than likely Bitcoin would be coming down into this orange box. There's a couple things going on. You have a long-term fixed range volume profile gap that we now have come into that thick, deep level of the gap. That's always a winner. You had the weekly smart trail. If I were to move this over, let's get rid of fixed range volume because that's just muddying the charts now. Come on now, work with me. There we go. Let's turn on our signals and overlays from Lux Algo. You can see we made a nice move right back into the thick of that weekly smart trail. That is our second thing. And then you get into this one, the CME gap. Now, technically, this is going to be a kind of a harder conversation to get into because it's a little complicated. Technically, the CME gap actually comes in at 77.3. As far as CME is concerned, we only made it to 78.6. On Coinbase, we made it all the way to 78.167, but that's not 77.3, which is technically the bottom of this move for a gap in the CME futures. And while I still think there's a chance we go down and fill it, I want to make sure people are aware and understand the significance of CME gap. So let's pause for a second. We'll go back to charts, but I want to make sure you guys are aware of what's happening here. What happened was the markets closed on November 4th, right? The day before the election. The markets closed and would not reopen until Monday, November 11th. So we saw a lot of days, almost an entire week. In fact, that is an entire week. We saw a whole week of the markets being closed. When the markets closed, the price was 77,300, give or take. And when they reopened on Monday, they reopened way back up here at 81,000. What that means is that even though people who were trading like on Coinbase or Binance or Kraken or Blofin, you guys know that's the exchange we use here with the Broz, we could trade all the prices in between. But ETF holders and futures traders, if you trade the CME futures, they can only trade and get buy and sell signals when the markets are open. With the markets not being open, that means there were probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of futures placements, ETF buys and sell signals that never got triggered because we skipped all of that price action. So not every time do you fill CME futures gaps. In fact, several times in history, we've seen gaps come down way lower that were not filled. For example, there's a big gap down here at 20,000. There's gaps as low as 6,200 on Bitcoin, dating all the way back here to the COVID dip, right? So there's never a 100% guarantee that you have to close the gap. But the reason why a lot of people believe you're going to dip down and close the gap is to fill all of those orders that were skipped way back in November. And technically speaking, you do not have to fill the whole thing. I still think it's a good chance we end up filling the complete thing, but technically we got that in here and filled a lot of orders within this gap. This doesn't necessarily mean we have to go lower. That very well could be the bottom of this move. So definitely be aware of that detail. Hopefully some of you guys learned some stuff right there. Let's get back into Bitcoin. Let's talk about what's going on the chart. What's some bullish stuff going on? What's some bearish stuff going on? Why did I click Ethereum? My bad. Let's go to Bitcoin. We might take a look at Ethereum later, but right now it's Bitcoin. So we hit a lot of support levels we've been talking about the last couple of days. At the moment, we still have 3.5 hours left on today's candle to close out not just the daily candle, but the monthly candle as well. And you can see right now on the daily candle, this is a shorter term, very bullish candle. Again, I called it a shooting star earlier. Anytime you see big volume with a major lower wick, you're always going to be looking for a reversal back to the upside. In the same way, whenever you see a big candle with high volume and a high upper wick, you're probably seeing a top signal, just like we saw back on January 20th. So this is a short-term, very positive movement for Bitcoin if we can continue to hold this. I am actively going to be watching, just so you guys are aware, I'm watching the 5-minute smart trail right now, and I'll have to evaluate if we get it hit. I want to see a bounce on the 5-minute smart trail, and I will be entering a new long on Bitcoin. But for more on that, let's talk about where I think Bitcoin can get to. Some of you know I talked yesterday and the day before about a potential move back up to $90,000, or in other words, revisiting the former support level we had since back in November that we lost here the other day. When you lose support, it is not uncommon at all to simply revisit those levels of support, turn them into resistance, and then move to the downside. And what I'm seeing right now as I move towards smaller time frames, let's go to the 15-minute chart so you guys can get a good look here. And let's go to a different chart just so it's not as messy. Let's get rid of that blue. Okay, give me a second. Let me get rid of this blue because I want to be able to do this accurately. Let's go back into the 15-minute chart. There we go. Some of you are going to already see what I'm laying out right now. But in case you do not, I see a nice little left shoulder. I see a very deep and clean rounded head. And then here more recently, today, are we building maybe a nice little right shoulder at the moment? If this ends up being the case, you have a nice neckline right across, you take the depth of the head up to that neckline, and you move it over to a potential breakout. This would give us a price prediction, ladies and gentlemen, of $92,000. Going back over to this chart, 92,000 is a part of this support level. Again, it's a zone of support as I move back out to the 4-hour chart, a former zone of support that we are seeing a potential inverse head and shoulders pattern saying that a move back up in that level would make sense, not just from a short-term perspective, but also from a perspective of, again, a retest, a level that we've never retested after losing support. Could we revisit it and simply bounce off of it? Now, then the question becomes, if we get a bounce to the downside, does that mean we're putting in a lower high and then continuing to the upside? Or will this be a manipulated move to the downside? And will we be coming down to reach that 77, 75, or maybe even lower levels? For that, I want to go ahead and throw it over to Tshroom because this story, that the reason we're rallying today, the BlackRock story, Tshroom's going to kind of lay out the details, lay out what you need to know. People are buying because BlackRock is buying. People are confident again because BlackRock seems to be confident. But could this be a manipulated move? Could this be a little bit of a bull trap in play? We're going to talk a little 4D chess. We're going to lay out some situations, and I'm going to tell you what I plan to do with my money in response to this. But first, Tshroom, for anyone who wasn't here in the intro, can you reiterate the story? What's going on with BlackRock? What's going on with them buying and selling Bitcoin? Take it away, and let's start the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the way that Zero Hedge has run the headline is BlackRock adds own Bitcoin ETF to model portfolio lineup, and that's kind of how I understand it as well. Now, their model portfolio is, I believe, the one that has the most allocation for their clients, but they also, I do believe, own that portfolio on their own balance sheet, which does show direct exposure. Now to get, no, I didn't mean to block Zero Hedge. Don't want to do that. Now to get a little bit more into the nitty gritty here, let's get into the detail. BlackRock is adding a 1 to 2% allocation of its 48 billion IBIT Bitcoin ETF in select target allocation portfolios, as we just saw there per Zero Hedge as well as Bloomberg. So this is confirmed. We believe Bitcoin has a long-term investment merit and can potentially provide unique and additive sources of diversification to portfolios. That's Michael Gates, who is one of the ETF managers over at Bloomberg. So, I mean, it doesn't get a whole lot more bullish of a headline than this, but Tim, something's got me thinking that there could be more to this story. And we were chatting a little bit before the show, and I'm interested to see how folks watching would react to kind of your take on this headline.
Yeah, well, let me make sure we lay the groundwork here correctly, because you've seen stories in the past that says, like, if you're on X, some people leave out details. You'll see a tweet that says BlackRock just bought $450 million of Bitcoin. Well, BlackRock didn't buy the Bitcoin. ETF holders bought the ETF, and they're required to hold 1-to-1 Bitcoin on the Bitcoin ETFs that are owned. So therefore, if the people are buying it, they're going to take that money. They get to keep the fees. They take the rest of it. They buy the Bitcoin. That person now owns an ETF, but BlackRock has to own the Bitcoin. But in the same boat, you've heard in the last week, I think over $1 billion now. I could be wrong, but last I saw it was like over 900 million a couple days ago. Clearly, there was more selling. I believe that there's been more than $1 billion of ETFs being liquidated in the last week and some change. So, of course, you're seeing headlines saying BlackRock just sold X amount of Bitcoin, not $900 million of Bitcoin in the last week. In which case, just as the bullish news was kind of fake information saying they were buying a bunch of it, this is kind of fake bearish news because, yeah, they're selling Bitcoin, but it's because their ETF holders sold their ETF. And now, again, they don't want to have this massive balance sheet of Bitcoin and nobody owns the ETF ascribed to it. So, yeah, they're going to move it over into Coinbase. They're going to sell it because that's what they do. What makes this headline that Tshroom's showing us so important is this is not ETF money. This is not their customers' money. This is out of their personal pocketbook, their personal wallet. They are finally, after over a year of speaking highly about Bitcoin, they're finally buying the ETF themselves, getting access to Bitcoin. Okay, it makes sense to prop up your own ETF, but effectively, because they both hold the Bitcoin and the ETF, they are buying Bitcoin, and they're buying a lot of it. Just in case the math there isn't ticking for everybody, if they have $48 billion and they're looking for a 1 to 2% allocation, that means somewhere, it's $48 billion, so let's just round it up to $5 to $10 billion of Bitcoin. Not saying that they bought all that right now, but that is their plan to acquire over $5 to potentially $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. That's no small number. Remember how much we freaked out back in the summer of 2024 when Germany sold, what was it, like 3 billion, 4 billion, something like that? We're more than doubling that holding that Germany sold off, and it's all going to BlackRock. Now, I'm going to pause there for a second. And we're going to get back into some bullishness and get into some 4D chess conversation. Beeve Staley, I think is his name. He says, BlackRock is not your friend. Beeve Staley, you are 100% right. I hope nobody takes what we're saying in today's show saying, oh, yay, go BlackRock. We love them. No, that's not what we're saying. I am aware that BlackRock buying Bitcoin helps the price go up, which in case helps my portfolio go up. I like that detail. But I'm also very aware that BlackRock is a manipulator. They are a part of what we call the composite man. And we're going to talk about composite man theory here in a second. We're going to look at the charts and kind of break down what potentials could happen here. But I want you to know B. Staley is 100% right here. BlackRock is not your friend. While they want to buy Bitcoin and they believe in it just like you, they want to buy it in a way and manipulate the market so that you sell, they buy, and then when we get to the bull market top, they want you to buy so that they can sell, right? That is their strategy. They are not your friends. They're not locked armed. They're not in there diamond hold hands. They are in it for themselves. And you have to learn how to watch the signs of their movements. Them, along with a lot of other institutional players, make up what we call the composite man, the manipulators who crash the markets to freak out retail investors just so they can buy great dips. And then when we're sitting at all-time highs and there is euphoria, they're going to try to convince you it's time to buy in, all the while they're selling. They're just letting you be exit liquidity. And that brings us to the part of the conversation Tshroom kind of asked. The composite man theory, how does BlackRock potentially work into this? Is there a situation in which we go to the downside? For that, let's go look at my chart once again. If you were not here a couple of minutes ago, I laid out on the charts that there's good reason to believe that Bitcoin could very well make its way back up towards 90K. In fact, another reason why I think this could even happen within the next couple hours, not saying it definitely will, I'm just saying it could, is because there's a lot of people right now with this thought out there that if we don't close the monthly candle, let's go take a look at that for a second. If we don't close the monthly candle back above 90K, that is the official declaration of the bear market. Now, I understand why they're saying that. I understand staying within the zone would look good. It would give us a very bullish looking monthly candle with a long lower wick, but I disagree with this. I don't think it has to happen that way. But it's just one more argument to say, potentially, with us only having a couple hours left in the monthly candle, could we make a push back up towards that 90K level? Could we, again, as I laid out a couple minutes ago, could we retest former support levels and turn them into resistance? But what happens after that is where I want to get into the composite man theory. This constant manipulation, this constant playing with your emotions, causing us to drop into extreme fear right before a local bottom. But now if we pick up confidence too fast, do they skyrocket? Do we see retail investors become very confident because we're revisiting 90K levels, only to see one more dip happen once again? And I know a lot of you are saying, Tim, be bullish, please. We came here to hear you be bullish. Don't be bearish. We want to hear good stuff again. Guys, I'm not here to tell you bullish or bearish based off what I think you want to hear. I'm here to talk about the charts. I'm here to talk about what is happening and express to you, based off historical movements and what we know about the composite man's manipulation, what a potential and realistic outcome very well might be in the next couple of days. Could we revisit 90K? Absolutely. But I want you to kind of follow with me in the logic here. If hearing this news that BlackRock is buying is making you bullish, that might not be a great way to dictate the bottom of this bull market. In fact, stay with my logic here because we're playing 4D chess. If I was BlackRock, this is what you have to do with the composite man. You have to put yourself in their shoes. If I'm BlackRock, if I'm the composite man, if I'm a large exchange, and I've now scared the crap out of retail investors, but now with a simple news headline from BlackRock, people are getting more confident. Why not raise the price back up to 90K? Sell off, all the while convincing retail that this is a bullish situation, and then bring the price level back down to where I really wanted to go, maybe 77. Hey, maybe 70K. I'm not quite certain where the bottom's in, but my point would be what they're going to bring it back down for is they don't want to just buy right here. They want to buy a lot of dip. But right now, if you hear this news, right? If you heard this news, BlackRock buys, and you get confident, they can't buy a lot of that dip because retail's buying that dip. The best strategy is to get back into confidence with retail, plunge the market once again, come to these lower levels. And now when I see a headline saying, hey guys, guess what? BlackRock just bought more. Binance just bought more. Tron just bought more. Coinbase just bought more. Well, there's a little bit of the boy that cried wolf situation with retail investors. I'm not going to fall for that again. They bought back here too, and that wasn't the bottom. I think this is just the beginning of the bear market. And that is composite man theory of how you get the bottoms bought back by the whales and the institutions, not by the people. I know a lot of you guys are in chat. I see Primo Viva saying, Tim, you're overthinking this. Let me explain to you why I don't think that I am. We saw something not extremely similar in terms of chart, but extremely similar in ways of price manipulation way back here. And this, you kind of get into the thoughts and looking at what's called the accumulation phase after a big dip to the downside, okay? Of course, going back to 2021, this is the Elon FUD. This is the time period where Elon sold some Bitcoin from Tesla. He expressed concern about the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining, and the Bitcoin price would plummet 50% from these ranges up here over 60 down to $30,000. Well, guess what? Then we had a massive volume wick. The fear and greed, as I told you guys the other day, flashed down to 10. We saw a nice little bounce up. But if you watch here, every time we come back and tick down to $30,000, you see high volume. Well, guess what? Went back to the upside because retail bought the dip. We come down again, high volume. We spike back to the upside. Why? Because retail bought the dip. What happens on the final drawdown, the last and the lowest level of a candle close we got in the whole process? Let me start deleting some of this stuff so it's cleaner. Look at the volume for me, ladies and gentlemen. You see how there's barely any? Retail did not buy the dip. This is composite man shakeout theory. This is called the spring effect, where they have some major news come in, retail buys the dip. Retail's brave enough. Retail's brave enough. Retail's brave enough. The spring theory is based on the concept that they wear you out until you become bearish and refuse to buy the dip. And then, because there's no more lunch money to shake out, because no more retail is going to buy, they know that that's the lowest they can make it go. And all of a sudden, that means they can shoot price back to the upside. What you're looking for to confirm this is a low volume bottom. It doesn't even have to be a whole lot lower than these moves. It just has to be slightly lower, a low volume bottom with a bounce to the upside. And then as we're breaking former resistance levels, you want to see the high volume come back in, this time confirming that the buying is back. But the problem is retail missed the opportunity. Institutions and the composite man get the opportunity. What's the problem right now? Well, go back to where we just were. We saw this play out in the summer of 2024. Look at the volume spikes here with me, everybody. Price dips, volume spikes. Price dips, volume spikes. Price dips, volume spikes. Price dips big time, right? We go back to 59. Look at that massive wick. Look at the volume to the last dip in September. There's a little bit of volume there, but not a lot. We had our spring. This communicated to manipulators. We're ready to move to the upside. Sure enough, that was the bottom. We went back up. What do we have going on right now? Retail bought the dip. Retail bought the, well, that one's kind of low, but retail definitely bought the dip here. Retail sold up here. Retail bought the dip. Look at this one with me, everybody. Retail bought the dip. I'm just trying to lay it out there. Based off composite man theory and based off of how manipulation plays out and how they manipulate news and manipulate details to sway the retail investor, maybe this was the bottom. There's been low volume bottoms in the past. I'm not going to say there's not. COVID, for example, was a a high volume bottom. Excuse me. There are high volume bottoms. Check it out. COVID was a high volume bottom. This back here, that was kind of, although we had a lower volume actual bottom, but you have spikes towards the end of big pullbacks. But I want you to be prepared that if we do make a move and reject at 90K, there is still a chance that the bottom is not in yet, that we want to revisit and find out, are retail willing? Do they have the stomach to buy this dip? If they do, we might not be over still. Until retail decides we're not buying anymore, we're done with this, and it all goes to the whales and the institutions, that's when we'll shoot back to the upside. I know a lot of you do not want to hear that. I know a lot of you don't like that. Tshroom, I want to throw it to you. Get your thoughts on this theory. And I know there's one other thing I wanted to say about the confusion here going on, but I want to throw it to you, get you give your take here as well.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the chat is split, which is pretty interesting, but it does make sense to me, right? And I think what it means is that there's a good chance that we'll continue to see some lower price action. It may not be tonight, it may not even be next week, but as we test higher and try to do some price discovery to the upside to see where the real resistance is going to come in, whether it be 90, maybe we make it all the way back up into support 95. There's a chance that we do come back down and close the gap, right? Or just offer another opening for global powers and the global interest to get in at lower prices. I think either way, nothing has changed about Bitcoin. Price is a temporary thing, and the overall narrative of Bitcoin throughout the duration of its history since 2009 has been up and to the right, in
Mhm.
accordance with the power law, right? In accordance with exponentiality. So, for those of you who are thinking about selling here, you're going to play into the games of the complex hedge funds, but you don't have to think about it like that. You just think about what exactly it is that you're invested in, continue to study it, continue to understand it, and listen to the smartest people, riff on it and explain it in different ways. That would be my kind of my take on this. And if you're feeling fearful even after studying Bitcoin further, there could be a chance that you're just over allocated, right? If your heart rate accelerates when you're thinking about your Bitcoin holdings and seeing the number get smaller, there's a chance that you bought way too much and you bought it too elevated of a price. That happens all the time, especially for newer investors. So that's kind of my perspective on it. I think BlackRock, hedge funds, they're going to do everything they can to try to have the best seat at the table into the future with the future of money, which is Bitcoin and some altcoins. So that's kind of my perspective. It makes a ton of sense. Sometimes you can read into things too much. I don't think that this is a case of that. I think that there's a chance that this is a little bit trying to read the tea leaves or whatever. But I think that there's something here for sure.
Yeah, and I don't want people to sit here and say, well, this means absolutely Tim's guaranteeing it's going to happen. We have moved into a spot in the markets where it's not about trying to make perfect predictions. Guys, I can make predictions and give you evidence for a lot of different things. It's about understanding the probabilities and possibilities of what's going to happen. If you've convinced yourself right now that we're going to new all-time highs, that the bottom is in, and we do, good, that's awesome. But what if we reject? What if we do start to go lower? You want to understand the conditions and the reasons of why we're going lower. That's what I'm trying to lay out for you right now. But I want to make sure we're clear. I'm going to give you what I'm going to do here in a second. But I made a video this morning, live recorded with my phone this morning, where I gave you guys a lot of thoughts about who needs to be holding right now and who needs to be selling. CZ said something very similar. I don't know when he said this. This is a tweet put out by a good friend of our channel, Cryptos Are Us, or George. Show my screen here. But CZ has this quote here. I just want to, this goes in lockstep with my morning video this morning. ZZ said, dips are parts of free markets. It's not financial advice. If you are stressed about it, you probably should reduce your investment size. That is, if you view crypto as an investment. For me, it's a worldview shift. I exited the whole world 11 years ago. Go off my screen here. What he is saying is, if you're just in for this for a quick buck and you're overexposed and you're stressed out right now and you're scared, this morning video, I told you, cryptocurrency is not worth losing your mental state. It is not worth losing your family. I know there's this very toxic crypto meme out there that crypto is going to bring wife-changing wealth. And it's like, oh, if you can't afford your family, sell them and buy more Bitcoin, right? We don't believe in those memes here. To me, Bitcoin will always be second fiddle to my family and my mental health. And unfortunately, there's a lot of you guys who don't have the fortitude and the ability to see the future and to understand what Bitcoin's going to become, what crypto is going to become. And you're just sitting here. You're not sleeping. You're not eating. You're stressed out. You probably over leverage yourself in positions and you might lose your house or your car. If I described you right there, you need to not take profit. Someone corrected me, not take profit. You need to exit at least a portion of your position. You need to get yourself into a position like Tshroom, like myself, like thousands of others in the Investing Bros community, where you only invest money you're willing to lose. You keep your house money, you keep your grocery bills, you make sure you and your family are in good positions. Whatever money technically you could lose and still survive, that's what you invest. I know it's a lot cooler to sell the house and sell the cars and gets it right and make millions of dollars, but the reality is, in this up and down market where we can make predictions and expectations, and I'm still extremely bullish on crypto, even in the year 2025, I understand there is a potential we go lower. And some of you barely are able to hold on at the $78,000 level. What happens if we go lower? That's going to be worse for you. So as CZ said, if you are stressed out and you're only in this for the short-term gains and you can't afford to lock in for longer terms, I do think it's worth it to go ahead and sell out at least a portion of your portfolio and get yourself in a position where you're only investing what you actually can afford. That being said, what is Tim going to do with this? Whether the Bitcoin bottom is in and we shoot to the upside, or whether we go lower, guys, I've been saying this every single day for quite a while now. I am not selling a single Satoshi. In my trading portfolio, I've had a couple successful shorts even today and yesterday, but I might short if I see an opportunity come in to short the markets. I'm going to long when there's long opportunities. I'm going to buy with my long-term portfolio every dip that I can as long as I have dry powder. And then next week, I'm going to create more dry powder and I'll buy more dips. But I'm not going to sell a single Satoshi. Whether the bottom's in or we go lower, I'm going to buy dips. I'm going to continue to DCA. I'm going to put money that I can afford to lose. I'm not looking at my paycheck and saying, all right, I'm taking this much money investing in Bitcoin. No, I'm looking at my paycheck. I'm saying, all right, let's pay the house bill. Let's pay the food bill. Let's pay the gas bill. Does Brody need to go to the doctor this month? All right, let's pay that. Let's pay this. Let's pay. And then what do I have left? Okay, I have this much money left. Well, it's probably a little bit needs to go into taxes because I don't have an income that takes my taxes out for me. I have to pay taxes. So a portion comes out for taxes. Another portion comes out maybe to go into the savings. But what's left, what can I afford to lose and be okay? That's my dry powder to buy the next dip. That needs to be your situation as well. I'm not a financial advisor, but that is just common sense when it comes to the world of investing. Do not over leverage yourself and get yourself in a hole where you lose everything. Your family, your mental state, your house, your car. Don't do that. Don't do that. That being said, all of this is still good news. I'm still so far bullish. If we are in a bear market or if we enter a bear market, guys, it's going to be a quick one. Even if we go to 32,000, we will go to 32,000 very fast. We will rebound. We'll shoot back the upside. Why? Because even though we don't have the conditions right now to new all-time highs, the minute we move into a state of quantitative easing, the minute we get more clarity on regulation, we will see buy-ups like crazy. Can that happen next week? Can that happen next month, 6 months, a year from now? It's going to happen. The question is, how low can the dips get before that happens? I'm just going to buy them. I'm going to buy them knowing that the future of our planet will depend upon AI and blockchain technology, and I want to be still an early investor before all the massive institutional money comes in. That's how I'm going to be treating it. You guys are the kings of your own wallets. You do what you want. But if you're interested in my strategy, that is my strategy. Tshroom, let's go ahead and engage with chat here a little bit. By the way, guys, go ahead and smash that like button if you enjoy the Investing Bros channel, and make sure you're subscribed as well. We do have a giveaway for some of our paying members at the end of the stream, so make sure to stick around for that. Anything interesting in chat that you're seeing here, Tshroom?
Yeah, there's been a couple of things. I actually had this cartoon pulled up that you had shared on your Twitter a little while ago, Tim.
Yeah.
That what you're saying there just a few moments ago reminded me of this image, right? Is being so close and yet giving up and turning around. You know, it's tough. It's tough to find yourself in that situation. That's not where you want to be. But you know, I think a lot of people that have tuned in, they know that. I think there's a lot of people in the chat kind of signaling that they've been here before. They have the experience necessary not to give up, right? To look at the opportunity that's ahead of them and to keep on chugging, keep on picking away and buying and DCAing and hodling. So, yeah. Are you seeing anything in the chat there, Tim?
Yeah, a lot of people are. I think a lot of people want to take a look at some charts here. There are a couple charts I want to take a look at myself, but somebody said, can we take a look at Ethereum real quickly? Let's go take a look at Ethereum. Not quite as bullish of a candle as Bitcoin. You still see an uptick in volume, slightly, not a lot. You still see a candle right now that is blue, so it's bearish, but it is. It does have a lower wick right there. What's going to be interesting, it bounced here off of $2,072. Is that going to be the bottom? Again, this is the lowest we've seen Ethereum since all the way back in December of 2023. Go off my screen for a second here, Smay, because I want to bring up something Ben Cowan has been showing. Let's go. Let me bring – I guess I got to bring this whole thing over. Going to share my screen again. Ben Cowan posted something very interesting here. That he put a tweet out last night, says we're going home. And some people are thinking, does that mean the bottom's in? Well, no, technically what he's saying is this is a bull market support band. And he thinks that we could dip at least down to the middle of this, if not maybe down towards the lower end. He's still saying there's a chance that we come back down in here towards $1,400, $1,500. I'm not going to guarantee that's necessarily the case. That, of course, would be back down here towards the lows of October of 2023. That's definitely going to have some support as well. But let's take a look at some of the longer-term timeframes and see, are we getting close to a buying opportunity, or does it show a lot further signs to the downside? We had a weekly sell signal recently. We've dropped below that weekly smart trail. Let's see the 2-weekly one, for example. We never even got bullish on the 2-weekly chart, so that's not a huge thing in the world. But we're definitely got a little bit lower. It shows the weekly chart could get to now that we've lost the smart trail. Kind of saying anywhere between 1,900 and 1,200. That's a pretty wide range, but that's a long-term perspective. Nothing guaranteeing. Let's see if when we zoom in, we're seeing any type of positivity. The daily chart, not necessarily giving us a buy signal here. Let's turn on our MACD as well, just so we have the full perspective here. We recently had a bearish MACD cross. We're moving to the downside. And even though we do have a green reversal dot, we still have room to the downside with the oscillator. We still have negative money flow with, guess what, take profit areas in the world of 1950. Okay? I'm just showing you what the charts are saying. I'm not trying to make any conclusions here. I'm just telling you, I'm not seeing a bullish daily chart. What if I go to lower time frames, like the 4-hour chart? Here we are going to see a buy signal. And guess what? Kind of talking about Bitcoin bouncing back up to 90K. I would expect that ETH would bounce up as well. The targets, I would say, I'm looking at right here, maybe somewhere here in the world back towards $2,400. That would make a lot of sense. We're getting a buy signal here on the 4-hour chart. Green reversal, bullish momentum, bullish divergence, money flow, excessive sellers leaving, very bullish. This could very well send us up towards 24. Heck, if it starts to really make some noise, we could make our way back up all the way to this bearish breaker block back up to $2,600. The problem with $2,600, kind of similar to Bitcoin, guess what? That would be revisiting a former support level. See this blue line, a former support level, both rising and horizontal, and potentially turning it into resistance rather than using it as support, in which case what you'd see is a bounce up to 2,600 and then potentially a sell-off where we do come down here closer to that $1,900 level. That would kind of match if Bitcoin does go a little lower and fills that $77,000 CME gap. Potentially that's what Ethereum would do as well. So just want to be very transparent and open with you guys about how I'm seeing that. That is that potential. But let's take a look at some other coins here like Solana. Solana popping up here. It's in the green. It was up 6% earlier. It's definitely hesitating here on that 4-hour chart, but it reached down towards 126. You do see a high volume candle right there. Let's go to the daily chart just so we can see this more clearly. White candle, very bullish, long lower wick there. Very, very bullish looking candle right here. You do see the daily chart getting very close to a buy signal. Green reversal, bullish momentum, and then excessive sellers and that money flow. It's rounding off and looks like it wants to pop here soon. Look at the 20-hour chart. It's a new one brought to my attention. 20-hour chart got a buy signal back here a couple of days ago, back on the 19th. Now, again, the price action continued to fall, but that buy signal is still in effect. We actually got another one came in here. What is this? Yesterday. That could send the price back up to 166. If the daily trigger goes, that could go a little higher. But again, that hasn't happened yet. The only problem, guess what? That 160 is kind of telling you, look at where 160 is. That's former support. That red line, the bounce here a couple of days ago, that's former support. Do we see Solana turn that into resistance and come back down as well? The only thing I'll say, though, the difference between it and having that daily buy signal, coming down here a little bit lower, being in that green support band on the daily chart, I'm not saying it's impossible to go lower whatsoever, but I do think that Solana's in a better looking spot than Ethereum, right? Bitcoin, I even think was close to its bottom. So maybe Solana falls back down to these levels, maybe goes a little bit lower, but I think Ethereum looks a little bit more vulnerable to a lower pullback than Solana. What about the weekly chart? Let's see if the weekly chart is telling us anything. Nice big lower wick. If we can sustain that, that's a good sign there. That being said, it had a sell signal, right back in here. But to be fair, we hit the sell signal and the trigger very quickly. I guess if it was going to go lower, back down towards 97 to the green band. What about breaker blocks in here? Okay, no, we hit an order block in price there. I'm not saying Solana can't go lower. I'm saying Solana's hitting way better support levels. And I think there's a very good argument to say that Solana was more overextended than even Ethereum. And that sounds crazy because Ethereum hasn't been great, but Solana showing me more signs of life to go ahead and start resuming an upward trend than even Ethereum. Another coin doing very well today, up over 7%, HBAR. HBAR bouncing off some major weekly support here. Weekly smart trail, weekly breaker block. This is just very, very big. This also very former, a long-term support level. See this yellow zone, resistance back in April of 2024, support back in February of 2022, support in June of 2021, resistance back in February 2021. So this zone has had a lot of buying and selling happening in it, but we're bouncing off of that strong support right there. Also, let's take a look here. Again, weekly chart, it had a sell signal. We've hit those targets. Not seeing the buy signal just yet, but we are seeing the RSI start to round. How about that daily chart? Guess what? Daily chart, very close. In fact, we closed today bullish. That's a buy signal. Green reversal, bullish divergences, bullish momentum, positive money flow. That is saying in the short term, in the next week and some change, make a move possibly back up here towards 25 cents for HBAR. Not necessarily. I guess you could kind of say that is kind of hitting some former resistance right from back in December. Former support, turned to resistance. So yes, we need to get back above this level. You need to get back above 25 cents for HBAR to feel good. We could very easily in the next couple of days see this definitely happen and reverse to the downside. But again, kind of similar to what I'm seeing with Solana, it's sitting on a lot of strong support. It's pretty dramatically overextended. I really like if you were able to buy HBAR back here, even right now for long-term purchases of HBAR. HBAR still has a bright future. HBAR still going to do very, very well. Has some great relationships with institutions. Short-term, bullish, but not too crazy bullish. But long-term, we've hit on some major support going on. So that's going to wrap up some TA that I had planned here. Maybe one more question before we wrap out the Q&A section. Tshroom, anything you see that was interesting?
Well, Tim, I'm reminded that chat. Let me know. Wasn't it tomorrow, the 1st of March, that Charles Hoskinson was supposed to meet with Donald Trump? Now that the Oval Office is clearly vacated by Zelensky,
there might be a lot of.
Yeah, but I think it wouldn't be in D.C. I think Hoskinson said he tweeted out earlier this week he won't be in ETH Denver because he's got a thing in Florida, so he'll be meeting at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump. Could see some interesting price action for Cardano tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a good point.
What we hear.
Let's take a quick look at that chart. Let's see what's going on there.
Gotta look at Cardano.
Yeah, so we're hitting the support band. We talked about this yesterday, how we could dip down here towards 58 cents or so. Guess what? We hit that green support band of a falling channel. Now, there is take profit daily signals down here towards 55 cents, so don't rule that out necessarily. If I go to the weekly chart, we bounced here off the smart trail. Technically went a little bit below it, if we're being very real there. This zone, even 58 cents, historically has some precedence back here of being resistance. So it's not going to have a whole lot going on there, but it is definitely went up a little higher. There we go. That is a nice support level in play on the longer time frames. But let's check out to see momentum, power, money flow. What's going on here? The weekly chart. Interestingly, while the hyperwaves go to the downside, we recently have gotten a little green dot. I need to re-edit this. There's a little green dot right there. Some of you guys can't see. The money flow has been positive on the weekly chart. We just need to see the hyperwave go bullish once again. What about the daily chart here? Not quite there. I mean, it definitely looks like the money flow is not picking up a lot of momentum, but we don't have a green reversal or bullish hyperwave there on Cardano. So that's not necessarily the greatest thing. It is good to see that lower wick. What about lower time frames? Let's see if we find, what's the first time frame we find a bullish chart? Not the 20 hour. What about the 12 hour? Not the 12 hour. There is bullish divergence in play here recently, but not bullish there. We're very close in the 8 hour. All right. Very close to launching the 8 hour. That would give us a price boost back up to 70 cents. But I'm going to guess this is kind of very similar to others. 4 hours, kind of the one you're looking at. Could we make a move back up here towards 69, 70 cents, even on that 4 hour chart? Guess what? You kind of run back into some former support. Is this part of that larger play that Cardano is kind of in a good spot to kind of do this and then come back down again? I like holding the support, but it definitely could come back down and at least double bottom down there to that green line before a turn to the upside. The good news is with Cardano, if any of you guys have traded Cardano or invested in Cardano historically, News can have major sways over Cardano. Sometimes the charts don't tell the full story. There's lots of times where the charts are super bullish and then things go to the downside, or things are super bearish and then things shoot to the upside, all off of news. If his meeting with, we assume, is Donald Trump goes well, and there is further conversation about Cardano under our suspicion being used by the U.S. government to track and to audit different agencies, that news, you at that point, throw the technicals out. That's bullish news. That'll bring a spike in attention to Cardano, and we can see a massive climb to the upside. But good catch there. Good catch there, Tshroom. Let's go ahead and bring on Smay. We're going to do a giveaway here in just a second. But first, as always, we got to close out the show with our factoid of the day. He's gone dark on us.
Hello?
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, good, you're awake. Listen, it's me from the future. I have to tell you. Please, quickly. They're coming. I don't have much time. You need to go to the free Discord, link in the description. If you do not sign up for the free Discord, they're coming for you. The bears, they're coming for you. Ah!
All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the... Let's jump into the factoid.
Who is that guy with the glasses?
What do you mean?
There was a guy with glasses on the camera.
Oh, no, I was here the whole time.
Okay. All right.
Anyway, welcome to the Factoid today, brought to you by Decrypted.tax. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Here we have my favorite U.S. president, Teddy Roosevelt. He says, the question is, which of the following was an unusual method Roosevelt used to influence the peace negotiations between Russia and Japan? A, he personally met with both leaders on a hunting trip. B, he leaked secret military intelligence to both sides to pressure them into peace. C, he hosted informal diplomatic discussions on his yacht. Or D, he threatened to embargo both nations if they didn't agree to peace.
I genuinely could see him doing any of the four of these.
Oh, man. I have no idea.
Man, I really like A or D seem very up his personality route. He's a hunter, very much so. I can see him do that. But threatening to embargo both nations if they don't agree to peace, that's a baller move right there. What are you thinking, Tshroom? Where are you leaning?
I think D. D or B. B would be my backup, but I do think D is a little bit more compelling.
I think we'll double up here to close out the week. We'll double up on D. A is up his personality. I just don't know if the other leaders would want to go with him. B, it seems like that could have been very problematic to leak information.
Yeah.
I think D makes the most sense here.
All right, you guys' answers locked in, and with that, drum roll, please. It is
wow.
C.
Okay.
He hosted informal discussions, and for the fact check here, I don't have to go to the internet. I have this book that I read, and it says here, under here, it says something about they met on. Oh yeah, here we go. 2 instances show when the diplomats met on the presidential yacht, the Mayflower, before they headed for Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
There we go.
Very cool. Sometimes you forget the books even exist.
The factoid. All right, back to you guys.
There you go. Well, no, we got to throw it back to you because we got to do our giveaway for our paid members.
Back to me.
Shout out to all of our members in Discord. I think this one, I could be wrong. This is the one for all members, right? Not just our pro bros and super bros. This includes the bros, just the basic bros.
That's right.
Correct?
Bros, Brolux memberships, all of them.
So I think that this makes this one an $100 giveaway. Whoever gets this one is going to get $100. So go ahead and spin that wheel here,
All
Smay.
right, spin that wheel. Woo!
Basma 4222. Congratulations. You are this month's $100 winner. Someone said $100 into Link. By the way, I see some people asking earlier. Again, I try to talk about Link as much as possible. If you don't hear me talk about Link in a video, it does not mean I hate it. I still love Chainlink. If I ever hate Chainlink, I will make a video saying, guys, I was the wrongest wrong I've ever wronged. And you'll know that I'm going to be talking about Chainlink, and I'm going to tell you, sell all of it, get out, it sucks. But until that video comes out, I like Link. I'm buying Link when I can on those dips. Maybe we'll talk about that on Monday at the next show. But with that said, Tshroom, anything we need to talk about? I know Friday Fundamentals going right after this in our free Discord with Crux. You don't want to miss it. He's going to break down a lot of great conversation there. Anything else I'm not thinking about, Tshroom, before we let everybody go?
Yeah, you've heard and you've been enticed to go and check out our Discord, the free Discord, and our paid memberships as well to take that next step and invest in your financial future. But one thing you should know if you're new to Discord is there are folks who will pretend to be the investing bros, and they'll reach out to you and talk to you, and they're not us. They're not the real investing bros. So make sure that you do not engage with the imposters. But
Oof.
if you follow that simple rule, it is very, very easy to stay safe in Discord, and we hope to see you there. Got a link in the description for you below if you want to be one of the lucky winners on Friday or any of the days that we do our giveaways. So that's all I have for you all. Definitely go and check out the free Discord. At least ask any questions that may be on your mind about price action or about buying crypto. Or hey, maybe you want to know, Tshroom, how do you get your beard looking so good? I'll let you know in the Discord.
There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up this week's content on live shows. Tomorrow will be another special edition of Rate My Portfolio. Yes, I talked about all the chaos going in, and there's some changes, so you don't want to watch 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. We will be putting out a video, another episode 8 of Rate My Portfolio. I am hoping on Sunday the Lux Algo tutorial video comes out. You don't want to miss either of those. With that said, though, we'll see you Monday, same time, same place. Love you guys. Adios.